Hey guys, it's Alyssa here, and today I shall be doing my September wrap-up. So we're coming from a slightly different location. This is my room. I just was filming clips for my last vlog in this position, and I love the lighting right here. So we're switching it up a little bit. My bed is bare because I'm washing my sheets. Period. Wow, was September the best reading month ever? If you missed my TBR and vlogs and all that stuff, I participated in the Avatar: The Last Airbender readathon, and I ended up completing every single reading challenge. Wow, surprise. I stuck to basically my entire TBR that I had set for the readathon / the month. I think I changed around 2 books, but it was kind of crazy because majority of my reading was actually done not through audiobooks, which is kind of wild. Lately, especially like this past year, I've had to rely on audiobooks a lot to help me read. And most of the time when I read audiobooks, very rarely do I actually just listen to the audiobook. I normally do listen and physically read it. There have been maybe a handful of books that I just listen to and don't actually also physically read. Having the audio aspect helps me maintain focus a lot. So for me to be able to read so many books this month without audiobooks was like really encouraging for me, and I just am so proud of myself. Anyway, let's get on to what I read and what types of books that I read and all that fun stuff. So I actually only ended up listening to 2 audiobooks. I ended up reading 3 ebooks, and I ended up reading 6 books from the library, and then I read 3 books off of my physical TBR, which I forgot to get. I'll be right back. So for my ratings, I read a total of 5 5-star books, and then the rest were all 4 stars. One was a 4.75, but you can tell I had a great reading month, can't you? But we're gonna go in the order that I rated them. The first book that I read this month, and was also a 5-star, was If We Were Villains by ML Rio. Oh my gosh, the hype for this one is so deserved. I've come to realize after reading this and earlier this year reading My Lovely Wife, I've realized just how much I've grown to love morally gray characters. Wow, have I grown to love morally gray characters. I enjoy morally gray characters in like other media like movies and TV and stuff, but in reading, I have come to absolutely love it. I'm trash for it. If you love stories about pretentious young adults who think way too highly of themselves and are just a bunch of rich kids, I highly recommend this book. I've heard it's compared to like The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I haven't read, but wow. I love this book. The ending had me shook. I was literally like, excuse me? I was not expecting that. The plot was at some points not entirely surprising, but I was so drawn to the characters and the relationship, even though I didn't like a single person in this book. Don't get it twisted. I didn't like any character in this book, but I was still compelled to read their story, which is always the signs of such a well-written book. If I don't even have to like you, but I still want to read about you, that's a well-written book. If you even remotely like Shakespeare, you will absolutely love this. I one summer took like a Shakespeare, I used to do like acting, like theater stuff, like in my teens, like when I was like a kid and my teens, and we did like a whole Shakespeare like summer camp thing, and reading some of this like reminded me of that, and it was just so cool. Recommend both formats, physical and audio. I don't know if I would recommend the audio by itself though, because it can get a little confusing, because there are points in the story where it's written in a play format, so it'll be like Richard and then his dialogue, and then like another character and then their dialogue. So I don't know if I would necessarily recommend the audiobook, but the audiobook is cool when they are acting scenes out. that is really neat. I'm really going in depth, and I'm actually going to tell you which books I completed for which challenges, because you're welcome. For the reading challenge of Read a Childhood Favorite, I ended up reading Today I Feel Silly and Other Moods That Make My Day by Jamie Lee Curtis, illustrated by Laura Cornell. I love this. 5 out of 5 stars. This was one of my favorite books as a kid. I loved rereading it. I remembered so much about it. It was so nostalgic for me. That's all I have to say. I think it's an important book because it talks about how it's okay to feel your feelings, and like, wow, who knew 22-year-old me would need to be reminded that it's okay to feel your feelings. The next book is A Perilous Undertaking by Deanna Rayborn, and this completed the challenge of to read a book with a beautiful cover. I love all of these covers. They're stunning, and it was the most stunning book on my TBR, and I wanted to read it anyway. That's why I picked to read it this month, and boy, oh boy, did I love this. I'm trash for this series officially. There's so much tension, and the storyline was really good in this. Like, there was moments where, I think it was my last vlog or the vlog before that, I'm not quite sure, where you will see me sitting down laughing out loud to this because it was so funny. It was hilarious. So if you like really lighthearted mysteries, I highly recommend this. It's like a historical fiction type of setting, and I love a feisty female main character. I can't get enough of it. The next book that I should be talking about is 5 Worlds, The Red Maze by a bunch of authors. I absolutely love this. 5 out of 5 stars. I love this world. I love where the story's going. I'm curious how many volumes there are going to be. I just love this series. The artwork is phenomenal. If you love a middle grade fantasy series, I highly recommend this one. Next book that I read, which is one of the proudest, like, this is like a proud accomplishment of the year. If I did nothing else this year, I did this and I read this book, and that is Winter by Marissa Meyer. Finally, 4 years of owning this book, and I finally read it. I read like half of this a few months back for, I think it was like an audiobook readathon, and I just finished the last 400 pages. This was the most, honestly, no joke, the most stressful reading experience I've ever experienced. I legit had to read a certain amount every day because it would give me anxiety. Like, it was so intense. There was always so much going on. I didn't feel like this was too long at all. I felt like everything that happened in this needed to happen in this for character development and for the storyline to really be fleshed out completely. I thought it was a perfect ending. I thought that everything that needed to happen happened, and it happened well, and I have no complaints. This is my favorite, one of my favorite series of all time. I love the characters. The world is so cool, and I'll probably be rereading this in my future because, wow, this was stunning. And this completed the challenge to read a book with a chosen family. And for the challenge of to give a book/author a second chance, I ended up reading The End and Other Beginnings by Veronica Roth. This was a book I requested through Edelweiss, and I was shook by how much I loved this. I gave it 4.75 stars. The only reason it's really a 5-star read. The only reason it's not really is that the one short story takes place in like the Carve the Mark universe. There were technically 2, but the other one you could very easily follow along and like understand what was going on and what the story was trying to tell you. The one just felt like it belonged in a novel that I had not read. So I knew that that was a possibility going in, that like I wouldn't be able to like read those and enjoy those. And sure enough, the one I just wasn't able to read and enjoy because I'm like, I don't know these characters' motives, I don't know what's going on, I don't know anything about anything. But this book was so wonderful. I've never been able to get through a short story collection before. I loved all but the one I couldn't understand. Every single one was 5 stars, hands down. Hands down. It had wonderful talk of mental health and, you know, medications surrounding mental health, and it talked about it in such a good and healthy way. And I felt like I talked about everything I talked about in such a good and healthy way. There are trigger warnings for PTSD, child abuse, depression, and like parental death. Wow. I thought all of it was done so well, and I'm shook. I wasn't expecting to love it that much. I was like, oh, I might enjoy it, but I absolutely loved it. It's probably one of my favorite books of the year, especially it being a short story collection. I keep going back and thinking about those stories, which hasn't happened before. I've never been able to get through a short story collection because by the time I feel like I'm finally understanding what's going on, it shifts to a different story, and I didn't feel that way with this. If you like slightly futuristic set stories that are all so totally different, I can't recommend this enough. The next 3 books were all in the same series, and that was Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Search, Part 1 through 3. I gave all of these 4 out of 5 stars. Solid, love it. I love reading more in this series. It had some good plot twists where I was like, whoa, that really threw me through a loop. I'm not going to be rating more in this series 5 stars because I'm realizing that I'm not remembering them that well. It's enjoyable, but it's not something I'm remembering. And to read a book with a lovable pet, I read, obviously, those, the Avatar: The Last Airbender comics, because Appa, obviously. For the challenge to read a happy/hopeful book, I read Power of a Princess by E.D. Baker. This is the sequel/second book in the whatever it's called series. I love it. I don't know if I'll keep continuing to read it, but I like the storyline. I like the messages in the series. I think that they're really good, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I liked it. It made me happy, and sometimes you just need reads like that make you happy, that are just fun. The last book that I read for the month, which counted in all of the different tribes, is to read the group book, and that was The Rise of Kyoshi by, oh gosh, I forgot. I keep forgetting the author's name. By F.C. Yee. So I had very mixed feelings about this book. Actually, probably the book I had the most mixed feelings about this month. It was a 4 out of 5 for me. I loved knowing more in this world. I loved getting so much backstory. I loved that. I loved the different perspectives that we got. I didn't like how some of the talk of like the bigger / fat / plus size, whatever you want to call them, characters were talked about. I just thought it was unnecessary and just not that great. Like, if every time you bring up the character, you have to basically bring up their size. It's called unnecessary and lazy writing. Also, I feel like there were pacing issues throughout this novel. I feel like there were parts where I was just bored, and I thought, like, this is just filler to get me to the next event that's gonna happen, and it didn't feel like, sometimes it felt very like disjointed as a novel because it would bounce back and forth between 2 different perspectives. So like that was kind of cool, but also kind of bad. So did I love knowing more in this world? Yes, but it's definitely not a book that can stand by itself in any sense of the word. You have to have known the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender to understand this in any sense. I will be reading the second book. I believe I think it's only a duology. I will be reading more because I want to know what happens, but it wasn't the best thing that I've ever read. I did think it did a really good job in staying true to the Avatar world. That I think it did very, very well. Those are all of the books that I read in September. It was a great month. I loved participating in this readathon. Thank you to Elise. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you for hosting this readathon. It was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it, and I liked it because it felt like a good cross between like a high energy, lot of things going on, lots of sprints going on, and then like more of a low-key readathon. I thought it was just great. The vibes were great. The challenges were great. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. So thank you for hosting it. If you read any of these books, please let me know down below. I would love to know. Yeah, that's all I got. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye.